Welcome to the Dream Lifestyle Podcast, where we are talking about setting goals that matter. And this is an important conversation that we need to have because it's one thing to set a goal, but it's another thing to really add purpose to that goal. It's another thing to really set a goal that matters to you. And to talk about this, I have my brother, Gabriel Smith, CEO, owner of Legacy Financial Coaching. Man, I'm proud of you for real for doing that thing.
It's you.
No,
it's you, man. I appreciate it.
It's nothing but God. But, Gabe, you are somebody that, since we met, like, how you meet certain people and you just like click immediately. Yeah. Like, there's not like that, like, wait around trying to see process. Like, you are somebody that, since you've come into my life, you've truly just been a brother. And so, to have you on the podcast, for this show, to have this conversation is amazing. And I'm super thankful. Yep. Super thankful. So, let's just jump right into it. So we're talking about setting goals that matter. What's your first thought when I say just, setting a goal that matters? Like, what do you think?
I think when I think about setting goals, for me, it's important to the set part, right? Like a lot of people, we kind of jump into the goals and say, okay, I want to do this. I want to do this. Right. But like, how do you set, in my business, I talk about setting realistic expectations. So when I set a goal, I want to make something that's achievable.
Right.
And so it's important to set ourselves up for success. So for me, it's like, if I set a goal, for instance, I want to build a house, right? I cannot build a house without the proper tools, right? Yeah. So let me go get the tools to build the foundation. And I think a lot of people see the house and say, I want that house, or I want that, whatever it is, without understanding that it takes time to get there and it takes the proper tools, education, as you mentioned, like you and I are brothers, community, and all that to even set a goal before you launch anything. So
I think that's good. I think one of the things that you mentioned in your answer that I think is super important is understanding that when you set a goal, understanding that there's a process attached to it.
For sure.
Because I think any goal that any one of us sets, like, I'm a firm believer that whatever goal any one of us has, like, it's very possible. Like, there's not many goals out there that haven't already been done. So there's a framework already there, right? But I think where people miss it is they overlook the process of it, right? They just think, okay, I want to be financially free. Okay, I want to buy a house. I want to build a house. I want to do all these amazing things. And it's like they just leave that big goal all the way out there. And they think, well, it'll just happen, right? And they just kind of overlook the fact of, okay, it's going to take time. Right. It's going to take time, right? Like when I started my businesses and just even with life, think about any goal I've set in life, it took time, right? Even from the biggest of goals to the smallest goals, there's a certain amount of time that it took. You know what I mean? And so I think when people set goals, it's important that they also keep in mind the fact, like, this is going to take time.
Yeah.
And that's where I think in this conversation, we're talking about setting goals that matter, where you do want to be able to set a goal, right? Be able to set, I like how you said, realistic expectations of your goals. And I think expectations is one of as a human being, I think expectations is like our greatest superpower. But I think also when you set a goal that is realistic, when you set a goal that has a high expectation and you're going to do it and all those great things, talk to me about the setting a goal that matters piece.
Yeah.
Because I can say, okay, I'm going to, I have a goal of, making $1 billion, right?
Yeah.
That's a great goal. That is, there's a realistic expectation with that goal. I know that time goes into that goal, but personally, I have no interest in being a billionaire.
Right. No,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, what do you think about that? Like the part about the whole mattering.
So in my business, I'm a financial coach, and I always hear this, and it never fails. I want to be debt free.
Right.
So people always say, and I'm not questioning that. But people, I want to be debt free. I want to be a millionaire. I want to be financially free. But I think when you say what matters to you, you have to go deeper than that. I mean, that sounds great. And when I ask people and they laugh, I'm like, do you really? Like, does it really matter to you to be debt free?
Yeah.
Because your actions don't necessarily align with what you're saying.
Ooh, there it is.
So you know what I mean? Like,
there it is.
I want to be debt free. And I will say, well, do you? Well, show me in your actions where you want to achieve debt freedom. And then they question it a little bit and they're like, well, I don't want to pay anybody. I'm tired of robbing Peter to pay Paul and all this stuff.
Yeah, all the
All the
words, all the
taglines,
same
right?
facts.
But like when you talk about what matters to you, your actions should reflect that. Because if it matters to you and it's deeply rooted in you, like we're both men of God, right? And it's important to us where our actions, not saying we're perfect, but our actions align with what we're
Facts.
saying.
Yeah.
Like, I can't say I'm rooted in Christ, but I don't study the Bible.
Facts.
The same way you can't say I want to be debt free, but you're living outside of your means.
Living irresponsibly, spending money where you shouldn't. So that's so good.
Yeah.
That's so
when
so
it matters to you, your actions have to reflect that. And then if it truly doesn't matter, everything you do aligns with that purpose and aligns with you setting that goal. Like it matters to me. So I want to be, so to your point about being a billionaire, I want to be a multimillionaire. I do want to be a billionaire, but you know, my goal is to be multimillionaire by the time I'm 40.
Right.
So all my actions, my business, my communication, my work ethic, all that aligns with being a multimillionaire, and that means I say no to what doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, I think what's so cool about that, and I think you honestly just broke the conversation open with that. It's like I'm kind of hearing a "don't talk about it, be about it" type of mentality that's necessary when you think about goals that you set, because you know a lot of us, we have goals that we want to accomplish. We have things that we want to have. We have, things that we want to do, accomplish, positions we want to have and everything. But it's like we don't spend enough time actually looking at the actions.
Right.
And that's why I think paying attention to the process is so important, because if, using the billionaire example, if I'm not willing to be an entrepreneur, because I mean, truthfully, you're not going to be a billionaire working a 9 to 5. Right? If I'm not willing to just walk out the steps of being an entrepreneur, and me just being honest with myself about that, then accomplishing that goal is very unlikely. You know what I mean? Like the action, if I'm not willing to take those action steps, then I'm basically setting myself up for failure. But because, I was motivated because I listened to a motivational video or something, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a billionaire.
Right.
But it's like, if I'm not looking at the actual steps, if I'm not looking at the process and just being honest about like, okay, this is where I'm at. This is, in order for me to get there based on where I'm at, this is what I'm gonna have to do. If I'm not willing to do that stuff, then something has to change, right? Either I need to change the goal or I need to change basically my capacity, you know what I'm saying, and my ability. So with that, talk about, in your mind, because I know you work with a lot of people. Yeah. Talk with me about just like how you help. How does someone go from, okay, identifying the process? Talk about that piece of it.
Yeah. So you broke it open for real. So I think when I approach you setting a goal, I take a lot of time in you setting the goal. What people do, including myself, is it's easy to, whether you're scrolling on Instagram, you see some motivational stuff. Motivational stuff is great.
Yeah, it serves its purpose.
It serves its purpose. But then you automatically set a goal based on that motivation that's not yours. You see what I'm saying? So when I work with people, I say set the goal, but I want you to take time to set that goal. I don't want you to tell me what you think you want to hear or what you think you want to do, but give me insight on how you came up with that goal. So how did you set it? So to answer your question, like when I work with people, it is really a deep dive into what does debt freedom, for example, what does that mean to you? What does that look like? What does that open up for you?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to hear, and you don't really want to hear, man, yeah, I want to be the best that God wants me to be. You know what I mean? Like I'm just out here.
That answer is,
and it's a great answer, but if there's no substance, it won't happen.
Right.
So we break that down really deep, and I think it's important for everybody to realize that taglines won't get you to the goal that you set.
Yeah. Tweetables ain't gonna do it.
Yeah, it ain't gonna do it.
And I think even with that, because in the same way how you ask your clients, like, well, what is the substance behind you being debt free? That's why I always say, like, just why?
Yeah.
Like, why? Why is that your goal? You know what I mean? Because, like, even using debt freedom as a thing, like, I heard someone rich, they said this, and they kind of like flipped a switch in my head where it's like, if you have enough money to pay your bills every month, you are debt free. Like, simply put, right? And while obviously it's like, okay, you have responsibilities as an adult, cool, but it's just like, what is the, like, if someone can be debt free right now and they just might need to change their perspective, what is necessary for them to understand. Yeah, like why would they want that? Like what's the big catch, right? Because anybody can be debt free.
Right.
Right? Like, and I think to your point of identifying the benefits is where you're able to, I think it's like the law of incentive, where it's like you're giving yourself a reason to actually want that.
All right.
And like giving yourself like a real reason, not just like on some, oh, well, it's just what I hear everybody else doing.
Right.
Right. It's cliche.
And then understand that there's alternatives too. So like everyone says debt freedom. Well, Apple as a corporation doesn't want to be debt free.
That's a fact.
They leverage their debt
to
make more money. So is your business, like, do you want to be debt free as a business? Like, or do you want to leverage successfully that? Like, it can be a conversation to have, but when you get stuck on a tagline or a one-way track and it's not really your goal, you won't accomplish it. And then also you don't understand, to your point, and I think it's great, what's your why behind it?
Yeah.
I don't want to plug Dreamer Symposium, but like part of me going through the Dreamer Symposium, I was able to identify my why. And I do the same with my clients as well. It's like identify why you want to be a certain way, or whether it's debt freedom, or I want to invest more, I want to save more. Like, let's understand why.
Facts. No, and I think that's the code to it. But I think also because people get caught in their busyness of their day to day, they kind of just set these like quick hit target goals.
Do you know what you want to accomplish in the new year, whether it be personally or professionally? If you're trying to figure it out, I'm encouraging you to get your ticket to the Dreamer Symposium. This is going to be your space to get really clear on what you want to do, where you are, and you're going to leave with a practical success strategy. And there's going to be an accountability system for the entire year to make sure that you complete it, so that way you elevate your life. All you have to do to get your ticket is go to dreamersymposium.com right now so you can register. I want you to be there because I want you to level up. I want you to go to the next level in your life. I want you to level up in your finances, level up in your personal life, level up in your professional life, level up your overall level of being. And you have to go to the Dreamer Symposium to do that. So go to dreamersymposium.com, get your ticket. Now let's get back to the episode.
That don't have as much substance as they could just because they don't take time to ask themselves why.
Right.
And I think even to that, let me ask you this.
Okay.
How does someone look at the process and then assess what they're willing to do and what they're not willing to do?
Oh, that's good. So I would say the goal in looking at what you're willing to do and what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do is what you don't want to compromise about yourself. Okay. So for example, let's stick on money. I want to be a multimillionaire. But do I want to lose my family in that process? Do I want to lose who I am, whose God called me to be in that process? So I can go be a multimillionaire and maybe work, you said 9 to 5, a 9 to 9,
right?
Not be able to attend my kids' soccer games or, be with my wife. Am I willing to compromise that for the goal? And that will help me lay out the process I need to get there, because it might be a little bit slower. So let's just say I want to, I'll make it easy. I want to save $1,000. Well, for me, it may take 10 months, $100 a month, because it's important for me to, spend money on my nutrition or spend money on my personal health. That may be important to me. I could save $1,000 in 2 months if I cut everything out. Right. But I'm eating no shade to Dave Ramsey, but I'm eating rice and beans. Well, for me, that may not be good for me. Right. Like, so it's important for me to be healthy. So your process should align with who you are.
That's good. So how does someone find who they are? Because I think in some ways there might be somebody listening and they're like, well, I don't want to change too much, but also at the same time, if I don't change, then nothing's going to get done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, what do you think are some ways? And like, my first thought is like, you got to get a coach or something, or get an accountability partner, or just like, someone that's just going to keep it real with you. But what are some ways you think some people can kind of get out of their own way when they experience, they view the process, they see the process, but they're like on the fence, like, okay, I could do that, but I don't really want to, or it's uncomfortable. Like, what are some things that you think that people can put in place to kind of help them?
So I think what you're asking is the tension between what I need to give up, what I don't want to give up, what is good for me. And I would say a couple of things. Yeah, accountability or a coach would be great, but then also look at your circle, like who's around you. Mm-hmm. And I don't know who said it. Somebody said it, but like show me the 5 people that you're friends with, your closest friends, and
Yeah.
I can show you who you are.
That's a fact.
And so the first thing I would do is evaluate that. Like, who am I hanging with? Who is my influence? Like, if I no longer want to go, I don't want to pick on anything in particular, but let's just say I no longer want to eat a certain way. Okay, and I know that, and I'm trying to identify what steps I need to cut that out. Who am I around? Like, am I going to this restaurant continuously with the same people? Like, are all of us struggling with the same thing? Do we all need a coach in the same way? But then also, I think it's a personal dive that you have to do with yourself. For me, that looks like me getting real with the Lord and saying, God, what have you called me to be? Maybe that's whatever that is for you. You have to take the time to like really dig in and say, okay, is this particular thing something I'm holding on to too long?
Yeah.
For me, just keeping it real, keeping it 100, and making sure my personal health is important and my time with God is important. Most of the time, that thing that's sticking in your mind that you don't want to give up is the thing you need to give up.
That's a fact.
You know, in any capacity that you're trying to achieve, is that one thing that you're like, I don't want to let this go. It's probably the thing you let go to get to that next level.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think even within that, right, because I loved how you said that you basically, all of us need to discover who we are in order to figure out, you know, what we're willing to do for the process. And in that, I think that speaks to purpose. Like, all of us need to really understand what our purpose is. And so with that, I believe, you know, your purpose is basically, if there's someone that's trying to find their purpose, that your purpose is we'll call it the collision between what you like to do and what you're good at.
It's good.
Right? And so I think more people, again, you really need to take time to figure that out. But in your mind, how do you figure out purpose? Like, how did you arrive at your purpose? Because I know you know your purpose.
Yeah. So my purpose is to change the world financially. Help people figure out their financial why. I don't want to say help the people be financially free, because we don't all know what that looks like. We don't all know, you know, that could be different based on the person. But I want everybody to figure out their financial why.
Yeah.
And go deep with that. That purpose was rooted in me as a child. That purpose was rooted. I can't remember in elementary school, and I was at lunch. You know how, like, I always pack my lunch. Well, my mom packed my lunch for me.
Yeah, look, mama. Shout out to mama.
Shout out to mom. I love you, mom. And I used to watch kids go to the lunch line. You know, they spent like, you know, the $3 on the lunch. And even in
Big fact.
I was like 7 or 8 years old. I'm like, you know, they can save that money, and they can. So I mean, it for me, I was kind of born with it, which helps. But don't get it twisted. Legacy was something that my wife and I, well, she was my wife at the time, 10, 12 years ago, talked about what it could be in a dorm room when I didn't have any money to talk about it.
Wow. Yeah.
But it took a while. So I would compare your purpose to a baby. Like, that thing you know, it's there. I'm not a woman, so I'm not going to try to describe pregnancy. But
Right.
we all know there's nothing there. Then all of a sudden,
it just starts growing, and then it gets birthed.
and then it's birthed. But then after the child's here, you got to nurture that thing.
Yeah.
You got to take care. You got to provide. You have to plan. So your purpose is the same way.
That's so good, bro.
Yeah, it's not something that, you know, it's just, for many of us, maybe for some, but it's not something that just comes out of full functioning adult. And you're like, here's my purpose. It's right here. You know, you have to grow it. You got to take care of it.
I think even in that, I think what's amazing about that is when you identify purpose, now it's almost like a reverse engineering a little bit, where once you figure out purpose and you go through that, you know, growing process, that incubation of purpose, where you kind of identify, oh, okay, like, I like doing this. Oh, I'm actually kind of good at this. Right. You know, you just kind of play around with it from time to time. And then, you know, eventually as time goes on, you get more and more clear on just what the purpose is. That also helps you really with setting goals, because, like, I think that probably is the easiest way to set goals that matter, right? Because you're setting goals that are aligned with your purpose, right? You're setting goals that are aligned with your identity. You're setting goals that are aligned with just what you like to do and what you want to create, you know, just from a true internal place in your life, you know, because I can even speak for myself. Like, I know that my purpose is rooted in helping people accomplish their goals. Like, I know that. And so for me, when it came to my decision making, when it came to the things that I wanted to create and how I wanted to do it based on what I'm good at, that's where Craft Your Dream gets birthed. That's where just me doing all the things that I do, that's where that happens, just because I know like every single goal that I set, like it really matters. So when it comes to, like I don't spend much time doing well, I don't know if I'm gonna do that, or I don't know if I want to do that. Where it's like, nah, like this is just all right. This is what we got to do. Cool, bet, let's do it. But I think it all stems from just understanding purpose. It all stems from understanding, okay, this is why I'm here on this earth, and I think more people should take the time to really understand and just get clear on it, because I say this all the time, like your purpose needs to be pursued. I think too many people think that they're just gonna wake up one day and God's just gonna like open up the heavens and this is gonna be like gold light and you're just gonna hear your purpose is fill in the blank.
Right.
And it's like, nah, like just try some stuff. Like try it. If you feel like your purpose is in encouraging people, all right, encourage somebody today. Let me know how that makes you feel. If your purpose is in helping people, help somebody today. Let me know how that makes you feel. Whatever. And like whatever that feeling, because it's like a feeling of just like fulfillment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like you should just chase that. Because if you chase that, you'll be fine.
Yeah. And it also, we talk about setting goals and having a purpose helps you set your goals. It also helps you deal with rejection.
Ooh,
Like, because, when you pursue, whether it's entrepreneurship or your 9 to 5, because you can, you might be in your 9 to 5, that may be your purpose, whatever that is.
Right.
It helps you deal with somebody saying you're not good enough or you don't know what you're doing or whatever it could be. It helps you deal with those roadblocks because you say, okay, I know what my purpose is. Like, you're not going, just the same way we just birthed that purpose, like we talked about the whole process, and it comes out as a baby. If your purpose is your baby, you're not going to leave it.
Yeah.
You're not going to run from it.
Yeah.
You're going to be there. You're going to nourish it. You're going to take care of it, even when it gets hard. But when you don't identify that purpose, it's easy to just say, okay, it's whatever.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really great thought, because I'm even thinking back to just all the no's and the rejection and the the feeling of being overlooked, experience of just even with me in entrepreneurship, but just me understanding like, this is my purpose.
If you're looking for accountability, you need to check out the Dream Society. For $20 a month, you can join a community that will give you the support that you need and the accountability that you need to hit your goals every single week. And for $20 a month, it is the best investment that you will ever make in yourself. So I want you to go to dreamsociety.info right now to join, and let's get back to the episode.
It really was my purpose that helped me kind of just be like, okay, no, we're going to keep moving this thing forward. Yeah. Like even now, as I'm like planning for this year's Dreamer Symposium, it's like I've been hitting roadblocks with it, but because I understand the purpose behind it, because I'm like clear on what the purpose of this thing is, like it's almost like you just don't take no for an answer. Right. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, if let's say the no comes from a person, well, there's other people on this earth. Like,
yeah.
Somebody.
Millions of people.
Yeah, like right. Somebody's going to give me a yes.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I definitely think the core of it, of setting goals that matter in terms of getting clear on the why, is just identifying someone's purpose.
Right.
Identifying like, yo, what is the why? Like what is the real, true, genuine why behind what we're doing? Because I think today, like so often, so many people are just doing stuff to do it. Mm-hmm. They're doing stuff because, their parents said to. They're doing stuff because it's quote unquote the right thing to do, or it's the cliche thing to do, the traditional thing to do. And it's like, nah, do the thing that matters to you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's where more people I think should live out of that space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to realize that, in the world that we live in, and it's always been this way to some degree. Mm-hmm. Social media makes it a little bit different now, but like you see somebody, you say, oh, they accomplished that goal. I want to accomplish. I like that. Literally, right. I like that.
I like that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to accomplish that goal. But what you don't see is that, you and I are you're a little further along as far as entrepreneurship, but getting into it now, I realize it is work.
Yeah,
like it is a grind behind it. So when Trevon is doing this, and making multi-million-dollar podcasts.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
Look, I receive it.
You know, receive it. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to say, "Look at the work he did back in 2023."
That's a fact.
You know what I mean? It's going to be
That's a fact.
like.
Right. Oh, I like
want
that.
that.
I want to do that for me. Yeah. Let me get
identify
my mic.
Right.
I'm gonna do it.
Right. But if you identify your purpose, it helps you keep your head down. It helps you say, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to be intentional with all my decisions that I make. So
Yeah. No, and I think even too, it helps you handle the success of
Yeah.
the goal too. Like, because I mean, I think about it even now, like with the success that I've had thus far with just business and just everything else, it really has been my purpose in this thing that has helped keep me grounded. Because as much as I would love to enjoy the fruits of my labor, so to speak, it's like there's more work for me to do.
Right.
You know, so like it's impossible for me to quote unquote get on my high horse because it's like I'm chasing purpose here. Like I'm not chasing a number. I'm not chasing a level of influence or a certain platform. You know, like for me, it's like, look, the bigger I get, so to speak, the more money I make only allows me to impact more people.
Right.
It only allows me to work on my purpose at an even higher level now, right? Where it's not like there's no settling with your purpose. You know what I mean? Because at that point, if you're chilling with your purpose, like that's not really something that matters to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like when this is your purpose, like I'm never going to chill because
Right.
for me, there's always people that are going to need help with accomplishing their goals.
Yeah.
So for me, if this podcast has one listener, if this podcast has 1 billion listeners, like at the end of the day, I'm going to make sure that I show up well. And just that's one function of where your purpose helps with in terms of the goal. But also when it does get to a certain place of success to the outside world, it helps keep me grounded because one, I understand the work that went into this thing. But also at the same time, I'm not going to be distracted by the success of it either.
Right.
You know
That's
what I mean?
that's good. Can I stay on that for a second?
Absolutely.
So when I talk to people and they say I want to be financially free, and this may break this podcast, but I'm going to say it. Financial freedom shouldn't be your goal.
What should it be?
It should be whatever you're chasing that financial freedom can provide.
Oh,
Because if financial freedom is your goal, and that is your sole goal, what are you doing with that? So you become financially free.
Oh, okay. I'm following that.
You know what I mean? Like you become financially free. Cool.
Right.
You're financially free. Whatever that means. So no debt. You can do whatever you want. You can travel the world. Whatever that is to you.
Right.
There's a purpose behind that financial freedom. We're not going to have financial freedom as a goal.
So it's kind of, if I'm understanding you correctly, it's kind of like you become financially free, then what type of thing?
Exactly.
Okay.
It can be a goal.
I'm following.
It's not going to be the end all goal.
Yeah, it shouldn't be the end all be all, but it should be like, okay,
Exactly.
this should be like almost like the launching point to something.
So once you're financially free,
Okay.
my goal is to impact millions of people by whatever it is. My goal is to have my kids travel the world so they can see things I couldn't see growing up.
Right.
My goal is to provide meals for people. You know, like that is your final goal. Financial freedom isn't a final goal. It's a step. It's a stepping stone.
Yeah, it's the
something deeper.
It's the means.
Yeah.
It's the means to the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah. I think that's great, and I think it also makes me think about how within the purpose of it, it needs to be something specific.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because financial freedom, okay, what does that really mean? But when you actually say things, using your example of, you know, allowing my children to travel in a way that I wasn't able to, allowing my family to just live a life I never had, you know, just when you get specific about that, I think that helps add significance to the goal, and which will ultimately, like we talked about before, help you in the process of actually making it happen, actually doing the work. But it'll also help you set the right goals along the way. That's really good, bro. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
wow.
It'll ground you. It'll ground you because look at it like this. You're driving a car and stick with me. Your goal is to go 80 miles per hour.
Okay.
So you get a car, it can only go up to 70. And then you hit 80, but you have no idea where you're going. You've hit your goals of 80 miles. Like you hit your goal. I hit 80 miles per hour, but where are you going with that?
Right. There's no
Financial freedom is your 80 miles per hour, but you got to have a destination behind that.
Ooh, that's good.
You know what I'm saying? So
That's good. Listen, I hope that you got those gems. This man Gabe is a genius. This is why I have him on the pod.
man.
But I really hope that you guys got value out of this conversation, as we just talked about just setting goals that matter and how it all boils down to ultimately your purpose. Because ultimately your purpose is what's going to allow you to set the right goals. It's going to help you, navigate the success as you experience it. It's going to help you identify what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do. And it's ultimately the key. I mean, shucks, you need to be able to identify your purpose and really honestly write it down. Like write somewhere, notebook, in your phone, whatever. Just have it like a statement, like a sentence. Like my purpose on this earth is to fill in the blank, whatever that is. And it helps so much just because, again, it just helps with that decision making that we talked about before. So before we leave, talk about the Dreamer Symposium. You mentioned it before, but the Dreamer Symposium's coming back. So just talk about it.
I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to you anymore. No, the Dreamer Symposium is amazing. Last year I had the opportunity to take part of it. And I talked about my business, Legacy Financial Coaching. It was a dream. It was a thought. It was something that I had a passion for, but didn't know how to get there. But going to the Dreamer Symposium at the end of 2022 allowed me to launch that, working with Trevon. He gave me tips and tools and everything to actually launch a business, which is still kind of weird to say, but it's amazing.
He's killing it too.
Yeah, thank you.
He's killing it.
So Dreamer Symposium, sign up. It definitely, it truly changed my life, the trajectory of my life, and helped me find my purpose.
I love that. And, so you guys hear from me all the time about why you should go, but now you hear just from other people that went and got the experience of it, because ultimately it's my goal. It's my goal to really help people, really take action on the goals that God has given them, and especially in the new year. Like I believe gone are the days where you should be just going with your people and creating vision boards and setting New Year's resolutions that you're going to forget about by February. Like, let's really set some goals to change your life. So definitely sign up for the Dreamer Symposium. You can go to dreamersymposium.com right now to get your ticket. It's going to be awesome. Washington, D.C. on December 16th. I look forward to seeing you there. Make sure you share this episode with somebody if you haven't already. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, leave a review if you're listening to me on a podcast platform. Make sure you also check out last week's episode so you can also prepare for next week's episode. And always remember, your dream is possible as long as you're willing to work for it. We'll see you guys next week.